Hello there everybody and welcome back to Movie Squirm. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 2006 film Final Destination 3, and this is directed by James Wong and stars Mary Elizabeth Winstead. When Wendy has a premonition that the roller coaster she is about to ride crashes, she decides to get off with a bunch of her friends. When the coaster then does crash, death hunts them down one by one. Now just a heads up guys, I have reviewed the first two movies in this franchise. I plan to do 4, 5 and 6 after this one, so I'll leave my Final Destination review playlist down below for you to check them out, and also there will be spoilers ahead in this video. Well, that whole concept seems very familiar now, doesn't it? And that's because we've had two movies kind of doing the same type of thing here, and Final Destination 3 isn't really any different. But the most common thing we have here as well as that is that James Wong, the director of the first movie, is back in the director's chair for this one. And this is a movie I've seen quite a few times now. This is one I used to rewatch back in the day along with the first movie. The second one, not so much. But after rewatching the first two, just before this one, I was excited to go back and see this one again. So that proves that the formula just kind of works, doesn't it? These are fun movies, and I can only imagine the formula worked back in the day and everyone was excited to go and see this movie. Heck, it's even still working now, because we've got Final Destination Bloodlines coming in just a few weeks. But it's the death scenes and the awesome, horrific openings that is what make people come back to these movies, and that's exactly what this movie delivers. Now, when I talk to people about the Final Destination movies, they always seem to bring the second one up and this one the most. The second one being more relatable because people just drive cars every day. But I think the whole fun environment of the theme park is kind of, this is a fun thing that you're meant to be doing as characters. I mean, getting on a plane can be fun, I suppose, or driving a car. It's not really that fun, is it, if you're doing it every day? But when you go to a theme park, you're there for the thrill. And this one is kind of a little bit different there because people are going to have a great time on these roller coasters and stuff. And this opening is pretty damn awesome. I think another thing as well is that just the way it's all put together, this opening, it's one of the more memorable ones because of how horrific it actually is. But it takes something fun that people do and turns it into an absolute nightmare, basically. Now, James Wong terrified the absolute life out of me with that first movie and the plane crash and stuff. It always gets my anxiety going when I watch that. And he attempts to do the same here with the roller coasters. And I just think it's such a well-edited, such well-directed opening scene. I believe the characters had to ride this roller coaster 26 times in order to get all the shots. But you got the wheels coming off the track, characters holding onto the side and being taken out by metal poles, to eventually stopping upside down and characters just falling to their deaths. I mean, that shot where characters are hanging on for their life and a couple of bodies are down below just splattered on the floor. Yeah, that made me really wince. But yeah, it's the ultimate thrill ride from hell, isn't it? And he just puts this together brilliantly to make yet another amazing opening scene in this franchise. And this is all just done from a little oil spillage just before the roller coaster takes off, and it makes you think, maybe that could happen to me there. And I think that's what these movies do so well. After recently just watching them, you're kind of on edge a little bit for a few days, aren't you? But James Wong has done it to me with the first movie. 20 years later, I still think about it all the time when I'm going to board a plane. So yeah, that's what I like about these movies. They just make you think twice about everyday little tasks. But also the amount of people who say to me that when they go on a sunbed, they think of this movie. I mean, that's been in their mind for a long time now, hasn't it? This movie came out in 2006, for God's sake. So yeah, I've never actually been on a sunbed in my life, but if I did, this movie will probably definitely pop into my head. And I gotta say, out of all the death scenes we've had, if you take away the openings, I think this might be the most creative and best death scene we have had yet. Seeing those poor young girls burned to a crisp after the heating turned up and them just being trapped in the bed there because that big plank is put across them. I mean, it's horrifying. The agony on their faces, you can feel it as you're watching the movie. You're like, oh my God, this would hurt so much. This would be horrifying. It's such a well put together scene, but it is all stemmed from one of the girls basically just putting a cold drink on a table and some of the water trickles down and goes into the electrics. I mean, how many times a day do you put a cold drink down on the surface? It can be that simple. I mean, death is kind of cruel, isn't he? And he's getting even crueler as these movies go on because there's so many creative death scenes in here. I really like the weights bench where it explodes that guy's head. I mean, oh my god, that was another impactful scene. A lot of the deaths in these movies are just so impactful, even though there's build up, which I think it does really well. You kind of don't know when it's coming. And that one where the motor engine is basically slicing that pervert's brain there, the blades on the engine. Oh my god. And we also have the nail gun, we're finding all the nails through that woman's face there. Yeah, it goes for it. But that sunbed scene is the standout for me. But talking of the build up to these death scenes, I really like this new angle that James Wan brought in here with the digital camera photos. Now, our main character, Wendy, basically takes a lot of photos at the theme park at the start of the movie. This is before every motherfucker had a camera on their phones. And the digital camera age, I remember it quite well. Everyone kind of had one. But when people start dying after the roller coaster death, Wendy investigates these photos and she can see the hints here of how these characters are going to die if they cheat death. Now, I know Alex and AJ Cook's character, Kimberly, from the second movie, mostly just had premonitions, but I thought this was done well to not just basically copy the first movie exactly, or the second movie for that matter, but it tries to do something new, even though it is the most minute and simplest ways of doing it. But again, there's a lot of tension building in these scenes. I just really like how these movies do it. They're teasing you every couple of seconds. They're showing you what is going to happen. And basically a photo will show someone maybe being lit up by a firework, or it's hinting at a firework maybe hitting them, and next minute we'll cut to that character being around at a firework show, and you kind of know what's going to come there. So yeah, I really like the way these movies do that, and this movie is no different. But Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Wendy is definitely my favourite character in this franchise after Alex and Clea. You know, top three really there. I know we've only had 3 movies, but she felt like Alex did in the first film. She gave off that same vibe that she would probably have something that could cheat death here. She has it in her brain to do it. You can see why she's having these premonitions. She just feels like a bit of a special character, but also I think it's just massively helped by the fact that she is a phenomenal actress. She is so good in every role I see her in, and here is no different. I just didn't think AJ Cook could bring what Devon Sawyer and Mary Elizabeth Winstead did to the main characters. She kind of wasn't doing it for me in the second movie, but yeah, Mary Elizabeth Winstead definitely did like Devon Sawyer did in the first film. I really liked her character, and you felt like she could get out of this. But in fact, I kind of liked quite a few of the characters here. I really like Kevin. I know he's a bit of an arsehole in the opening scene, but I like the way his character arc grows a little bit, where he teams up with Wendy to sort of help save these characters and save themselves, of course. A lot of people kind of don't like him in this movie. I think his girlfriend's going to break up with him, and Wendy doesn't really like him, but yeah, I kind of grew to like this character quite a bit, actually. And also, them 2 teenage girls who die on the sunbed, for the small time we have with them, I think they're really fun characters. Now, I kind of had a problem with the first movie's endings. That was one of the negatives for me, because they kind of don't know what to do with the third act there. And this is a tricky situation with these movies, because in that first movie, Alex basically takes on a faulty electric wire that is trying to kill Clea. That's the big final act. But in horror movies, our main characters would probably go after the threat, wouldn't he? Example, A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, where they all go into the dream to take on Freddy. Friday the 13th movies, they take on Jason in the third act. Well, here, how can you really do it with an invisible killer? And what I really liked about this movie is that we have another gigantic premonition scene on a train. So the movie sort of bookends itself with 2 really big action scenes, if you like, or horrific action scenes, should I say, where we have it on a roller coaster at the start and on a train at the end. And I kind of totally forgot about this, so that was a nice little surprise there. It's like Death was so pissed off with the characters cheating death in this third movie that he aligned the stars to just say, yeah, I'm just going to kill all these motherfuckers in a train crash right there. My only problem with it is it's not as memorable as the opening scene. It's kind of, a cheap way to do a premonition scene. It doesn't feel all, big budget. I don't know if they were running the budget dry and they planned to do it like this, but it's still an awesome scene. However, I do have a couple of problems with this movie, guys, and this is basically a sidestep movie. There's nothing new brought to this film that the first movie didn't do, apart from a few minor things like the photos and the ending. That's it. It is basically the exact same movie, just with a roller coaster and different death scenes. So, what I Final Destination 2 did that I appreciated was that they brought lots of new rules into the movie. However, a lot of them did not work, but I at least appreciated that they were trying to shake it up a little bit there. And I like it when sequels do something different. Some of my standout sequels from my favorite horror franchises, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, I love Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 because it does something different. I liked Halloween Ends because it does something different. So when this movie is just doing the same thing, it works, it's digestible, it's fun, but it makes you think afterwards, maybe we could have done something a little bit different there and brought something new and breathed fresh air into the franchise. So yeah, just because Final Destination 2's rules went a bit haywire and didn't fully work, it doesn't mean you can't do it in here, but I think basically James Wan just tried to reel it all back in there and bring it back to basics. So yeah, I'm kind of double-edged sword there. I kind of wish they would have done something that worked, but I can't blame them for not, because the second movie just went way too much. Also, I have to call bullshit on something here. Later on in the movie, Wendy is trying to find out who was on this roller coaster, and she realizes that, oh my god, it was her sister who she lives in the same house with, because she sees this bracelet on the roller coaster and realizes that her sister owns the same bracelet. Are you willing to tell me that as a viewer, I've got to suspend my disbelief so much that they live in the same house, but they never once mentioned to each other that they were on a roller coaster and got off and it crashed? I mean, that must be something I would talk about constantly with people in my household, with my family members. But no, they've never mentioned it to each other there. Oh yeah, I cheated death yesterday, but I didn't think I'd ever mention it. I didn't think it was that important. I mean, come on. I could not get on board with that at all. However, like I said, guys, this was really fun. The formula still works, and it's definitely a step up from the second movie, even though it kind of plays it safe. I'm just going to go ahead and make this movie now. I'm going to give Final Destination 3 a 7 out of 10. Man, I am having a blast with this franchise. I'm not going to lie. Not the greatest movies ever, but a really entertaining time. Can't wait for the next 3 that we've got coming. Well, obviously we have 2 and 5 that are already out, and 6 coming to the cinema soon. Can't wait to get stuck into those. Okay guys, at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, a fun fact for Final Destination 3 is that Tony Todd does not appear in this movie, or doesn't he? He actually does the voice for the devil above the roller coaster and the subway at the end saying end of the line. So William Bloodsworth is in there somewhere. Okay guys, hope you all enjoyed this review. Don't forget to check out my other Final Destination reviews down below in the playlist. What do you think of Final Destination 3? And is this your favourite one? Please do let me know in the comments down below. Please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel if horror is your sort of thing. Thanks so much guys. You all take care, and I'll see you all next video.